from different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Hi,
I'm Beth.
I'm Tim.
I'm Jessica, and we're just your everyday
Methodist to the madness.
Well, how are you guys doing? It's been a week. Has it been a week, or has it been like 2 weeks, or has it been a month? Because I feel like it's been a year since I've been here.
All of those.
Jessica, you're always welcome, and we were wondering something about you. Do you want to share?
What was that like, Jessica?
What?
What was the assignment like?
Well, the assignment was life, and let me tell you. It was a tough assignment. This past week, I was so excited to hear back through the podcast. I was really sad that I missed it because I've really wanted to meet Margaret because she does a lot of really cool things in the community. So I figure one day maybe I'll accidentally run into her in Hawaii. I had been mentioning how I had like a really busy work schedule that was approaching. It only happens once every 5 years at the school I work at. I also look at it on occasion.
I believe that. You could have a blindfold.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm still recovering because I think I worked like close to 60 hours last week, and like 24 or 26 of those happened in like 2 days. And so, but I did want to mention a couple things. And on Wednesday and Thursday, we had guest speakers at the school. And one of them, his name was Vince Averill. And not sure if you guys know this, but Vince's wife, her name is Georgia. And she hosts My Favorite Murder. And I was able to meet him because he came to our school to talk to students about podcasting. And he's the tour manager for My Favorite Murder, which gets over 1 million listens every week and downloads, which is, pretty similar to ours.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, but it was really awesome to, be part of that conversation and meet him and know that we're on the right track, guys. We're almost there. We're almost a household name.
Yay.
Yeah. So, but in short, though, I mean, honestly, it was just a crazy week for me. I was, hoping that I could find time on Tuesday, maybe, or maybe Wednesday, but it's just I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it was me coming home, maybe having a light snack and going to bed. And then I also worked on Saturday. And then also on Saturday, we met our donor, which was slightly terrifying in itself, because if anyone has seen Catfish, you always think, could this be us that is getting catfished? Tim, do you know what getting catfished means?
Yeah, I do.
Well, I know what phishing is for IT, but when you said catfish, I was just thinking about a catfish. Like I just.
This is why I asked. Okay, so there's a TV show called Catfish, and it ended up making itself the word catfish into the dictionary, which is pretty crazy because that term was used so much. But basically, when you're catfished, it means you're having a conversation with someone mostly through the internet. And then when you meet them in real life, they're not that person. Like they're impersonating somebody else. So it would be like for me, I could go to Facebook or some Instagram or whatever social account and put a picture of you. And then I could say I'm Tim. And then
do that all the time.
We do that to you all the time, Tim.
I say that I'm Tim.
Yeah. And then when they meet me, they'd be like, wait, you're not Tim.
That's actually how Jessica and I met. We were both pretending to be Tim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, you're my lost twin, Tim.
Yes, you were intending to meet the same, maybe similar type of people, but then you ran into each other, and then it just became this thing where you admitted to each other that you were both Tim. Yeah. I believe it.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's a horrible thing. Don't ever do it. And for those that do that, my only request is please stop. And so anyway, so we're sitting at this coffee shop because we wanted to be a public place. And anyways, it ended up being the same person we had been talking with. And he brought his dog, which was really fun, which was the bonus points. And it was a really awesome conversation. We left with next steps of signing legal documents. And so we're going to be doing that this week. And then in a couple weeks, we're going to be hopefully next steps of the next steps.
Yes.
Awesome.
Indeed. It's like, what is it? If you're going up the stairs and you thought you climbed the next steps, well, you got more steps that are next.
You forgot about the attic. Exactly.
Yes, the attic. Yeah. That's what I meant. Yes.
Exactly. So it's been a jam-packed week, and even Tim and I were at the young adult life group this past Sunday. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. We were laughing and giggling. It was so much fun. Yeah.
And it was really awesome that we were able to go through the Gospel of John and just share our intriguing thoughts with each other and share some sentimental feelings and just kind of what's going on in our lives and things. So that young adult life group is so nice. Pastor John leads it, and he does a fantastic job. And I think all the life groups in Palmdale UMC, I'm sure provide such a great benefit to everyone. So I definitely recommend that any of you are interested in the life group in the audience, I definitely would recommend joining one.
And Tim made sure to bring his olive oil, which was really, really perfect.
But no food.
No food. No food because it was a BYOL, bring your own lunch, but Tim had already eaten, so that's fine. So he brought his olive oil and thought it was something, maybe it was maybe he's drinking it. No, it's lotion for his lotion instead.
Well, I have to provide some kind of justification. So I ran out of lotion. I used to buy Burt's Bees lotion. And there were some other natural lotions that I used to buy as well. I ran out, and I realized that I had olive oil with me, and I always have olive oil with me because for my diet, I have a lot of olive oil in general because I am on a keto diet. So I have a tendency to have a high amount of fat. And so I'm just always carrying olive oil with me. I might go to a restaurant with it or something like that. And so, it's just a natural step to use it for my hands. I guess that's a little unconventional. I admit it. Yes.
A little,
it is.
Yeah. I think we can agree.
Well,
but everyone was laughing. What?
Yeah, I was going to say, if we ever want to look for sponsors, we could always reach out to the fine olive oil connoisseurs and see if maybe they'd want to sponsor us and send you some free olive oil, Tim.
Not just for eating, my friends.
Tim's olive oil review.
Yeah,
that's it. That's what it could be. Something like that.
Yeah. But how are you guys doing, though?
Oh, Jessica, I want to say that Beth and I, we both missed you. We're so glad that you're back on the podcast. It's
I really can leave nice. Again if you know.
What?
No.
The panic in Tim's voice. I think he's saying, "Don't ever leave us again."
You guys rocked it. You guys did so well, and so I'm very proud that in times of need, where if any of us need to step away, I'm confident we can we can take care of each other. That's what we do. But
yeah, that's really nice. Thank you. And that's how Beth and I felt afterwards. We were thinking that we can kind of step in for each other if life gets to us, like what is it? Life being an assignment more than it is typically, like the heaviest assignment. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Anything else, though? I mean, Beth, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. My dad often will ask me to watch a movie with him on Sundays, or I'll pick the movie. This past Sunday, yesterday, for those in the present with us right now, which is just me, Jessica, and Tim. Yesterday, he wanted to watch the second Iron Man movie, and he said, do you and the boys want to watch this? Not Iron Man, Aquaman, sorry. So he said,
my difference.
Well, they're practically the same.
They're pretty much the same, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. We're just not superhero movie people, but I was able to entice my kids into going because even though it came out late December, it was still in the movie theater. So
yeah,
like, you guys want to go see Aquaman 2 in the movie theater?
Oh, yes.
And everyone was like, yeah. And so I will say the popcorn was good.
Yeah, that's the best part.
That's great. Great news.
My Sour Patch watermelon candy.
That was the next thing I was going to ask is, do you pair your popcorn with anything?
So I am not a person who just dumps it into the popcorn bucket like some sort of Neanderthal. But yes, I do eat the watermelon Sour Patch Kids and the popcorn separately, like a normal person should.
Well, wait. I thought it would be cool if you could like pour those two things together, but
no, that ruins both of the things, Tim. Both of them.
Right.
Anyway, I've got strong opinions about that. And yeah. And I'm trying, this is the task that has taken over my life right now. I have a bunch of little diamond dot art that I got for the kids, for Kids Club. And I don't know if you two are familiar with diamond dots art. It's basically, they come
very expensive.
Some of them can be, well, it's not real diamonds, Jessica.
Oh, see, I thought that we were talking about real diamonds here. I'm thinking, man, the budget just increased at PUMC.
Oh,
it's not real diamonds. But,
what is it? Swarovski? I can't say it.
Yeah. Yes, it's those.
Yeah.
No. But so some of them are really big and for adults. And it's just basically a picture with stickiness on it, and then you get all these different colored gems, and it's like a paint by number but with gems. And I discovered that they have children-sized ones that are just like little stickers that won't take you a lifetime to finish.
Right.
And I've done those for the kids at Sunday school, and I've done it for Kids Club, but I feel like I'm wasting half of my time, like just, what color do you need? Okay, here's the color. And then I'm having the kids switch the colors, and it's chaotic. So what I'm doing is I'm taking each individual sticker and making little kits.
Yeah.
Putting the diamonds that they need in the kits. So it saves everybody time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But there's so many of them.
Yeah.
It's all I want to be doing is just putting all these little dots into kids.
That's super cool, man.
That's where my heart is right now.
Yes.
At the Diamond Dot Kids.
Diamond Dot Kids.
Yep.
Sponsored by Swarovski.
Hey, at least it's not an olive oil commercial.
Yeah.
That's true.
A good thing olive oil's not involved in that making. Well, I'm excited that you guys are doing well. What were you going to say, Tim?
Oh yeah, I was gonna share a quick update. So let's see. There's a few things that come to mind that are worth sharing. So I saw this movie that just came out, I think, just a couple of days ago. It's called Poor Things. And it's with Emma Stone. And that's like a Frankenstein-esque movie. Yeah. And it was so bizarre. And it was so awesome. It was one of the best movies I've seen like in a really long time. For anybody listening to the podcast, this is important to know that it is for mature audiences. So viewers' discretion is advised, as they would say in the theater.
Yes.
But it was a fantastic movie. I highly recommend it.
Got a lot of Oscar nods as well. So
yeah, and it got some incredibly good reviews as well. I was pleasantly surprised. I'm kind of on the fence regarding like whether I should check ratings before I go into movies. I'm kind of like hit and miss when it comes to that. But this one, I did not check the rating before I went into the movie. I just went in blind and pretty much had no idea what the movie was going to be about.
Did you open your eyes for the movie?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I did mean blind metaphorically, just to clarify.
Thank you for clarifying, Tim. Appreciate that.
So that's one thing, and then the second thing is I discovered this really amazing game, this PC game on my computer that I used to play when I was like a lot younger than I am now. And it's called N++, and it's this game. It's a precision platformer, and you're a ninja, and you have to like go from level to level and avoid all these like robots that are like attacking you and stuff like that. And it's such an incredible like muscle memory, like skill based and just thrilling game. And I started playing it recently, and I told my brother that I'm playing the game, and there's a co-op mode on the game as well. So now we're playing that game together. So it's kind of like a bonding enjoyment. But yeah, it's an incredible game. And it's got like 4,000 levels or something. So I could probably play it for my entire life and I still won't beat the game. I don't even know. But
that's where they get you.
Yeah.
And then finally, what's been helping me lately is and we kind of talked about this at the Young Adult Life group. It's so important to think positively as much as you can in your life. That's really, I kind of fell off the bandwagon, so to speak, regarding positive thinking like 2 weeks prior. Oh yeah. 2 weeks prior to this last week. But now I realize that it's just so powerful and important. Like basically, if you have positive thinking, you can influence your feelings to be more positive. And then by feeling better about things, you'll behave in more productive and ways that will like make you feel enjoyment and enriched in your life. So that was a really big thing. And then I came to an interesting discovery today. So I happened to stumble upon this one trance song. I forget the exact title, but it says something like love to take away pain. And I don't know the song. I'm not sure why that was titled that. I think the person was in fact talking about some story that was associated with taking away pain with love. But I was thinking, that's actually what Jesus did. And you have the saying in the Gospel of John, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And so like with love, we can kind of like step out of our comfort zone. We can provide meaning to other people's lives. We can get through struggles more effectively. Just remember like how much we love God and our neighbor, and then ourselves are in that equation as well. Mm-hmm. And we can just like feel so much better in our lives and make the world a better place when we we really emphasize love. So yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, Tim.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of stuff that's coming up at the church. One of those things is the youth winter camp that's over at Camp Wrightwood. If you're interested in this, please be sure to connect with the church on this and get your little bunk reserved. You know, there's no VIP bunking, unfortunately, but it's going to be a great time. Pastor John's going to be part of that. If you need a scholarship for that, I know that scholarships are available for this. So please be sure to connect with the church and get connected in that way. Grief Share, that begins on February 1st at 6 p.m. in the Fireside Room. So for those that are interested in participating in Grief Share, please be sure to get signed up for that. The Women's Retreat is April 26th through the 28th at Camp Wrightwood. So this is one that I'm excited about. I'm really hoping that Amber and I can participate in this. If all goes to plan, I could potentially be 2 months pregnant, which would be awesome. So that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, just thinking positively here, and
you have to do that
for sure.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, bell choir rehearsals are Wednesdays at 7:30 after Food for Thought. And as a reminder, Kids Club is every other Wednesday.
Every second and fourth Wednesday.
Every second and fourth Wednesday. We're all about even numbers here. And but Food for Thought, that's going to be every Wednesday at 6 p.m. for your interactive faith experience. And this includes singing, conversation, an inspiring message, and maybe even a meal. I'm not seeing anything else, so if I've missed it, well, you're not going to be part of it.
Since you mentioned bell choir, we can give a shout out to the choir, the regular singing with your vocal cords kind of choir. That's on Thursday nights at 6:00 every week.
Every week.
And I have a couple that are so hot off the press that I haven't made flyers for them yet. But let me just make sure I have the correct date. We will be having.
Beth, when you said hot off the press, for some reason I started thinking about waffles. You know how you have a waffle press?
Waffles are delicious. Now I'm thinking about waffles. But anyway, our next Messy Church is going to be on February 25th from 5 to 7 p.m. The theme will be love. Because it is important.
That's awesome.
We are currently looking for. Oh no, never mind. I'm gonna have to get back with Miriam. We'll take this part out, or we can keep it in. Stay tuned. We will be having a spring boutique sometime in April.
Yay!
That is wonderful.
I wanted to have it on the 28th, but that's the women's retreat.
That is correct.
Gotcha.
But
we could have it on April Fool's Day.
No. It's going to be different than our Halloween one. What's going to happen is we're going to have it on a Sunday, and it will be held in between services, and then maybe after the second service for however long we want to stay there.
That's awesome. I'll have to start getting stuff prepared for that.
Yeah, sometime in April, I'll get back with you.
All right.
Crafters, get crafting. Well, now we're going to head into Bith's. Well, this is a new person that is joining the podcast. Again, I'm still trying to catch up on sleep. Beth's ministry moment. We're excited. Beth, what you got?
Well, according to the notes, it just says God. So it was usually Jessica puts the name of whoever the guest is. But to me, it just says God. And that's making me laugh. I'm not laughing right now, but I'm laughing on the inside.
Yes.
Okay. All that to say, as always, I'm on the team children's ministry moment, always. But I wanted to share, it's not an email, but wanted to share some commentary that my dad had about our last podcast episode.
All right.
And he said, I just heard the dad, thanks for making Beth shout out. I've been embarrassed on an internationally heard podcast. And a bunch of emojis that followed. And I said, the world needed to know.
Oh, that's funny.
That made me laugh a lot. So,
Nice.
Go bug my dad. Just kidding.
And Japan.
And Japan.
That's right. Well, that's really exciting that we can continue to, I think that's something we should try to do, is try to incorporate your father into every single episode in some capacity.
Yes. Yes, the invitation has been given. He can be part of every episode.
He would love that. Does that make the guest on every episode? Or
no, we would just mention him in some way.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Dana. And I'll tell Becky like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Exactly.
That was a reference to Tig Notaro's podcast. Don't ask me. That is no longer in circulation, apparently.
It is no longer.
It is in circulation in my heart, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Yes. Lots of wonderful things, wonderful podcasts, wonderful shows, wonderful books, you name it. That when they're no longer in production, they're in our hearts.
They're in our hearts.
Speaking of in our hearts, not only was this sermon that we listened to on Sunday in our hearts, but it was also awesome.
In our minds.
What'd you say?
I said it's also in our minds.
It's also in our minds. Absolutely. Yes. So I sat there, and this is what I do every Sunday, is I pull out my phone and I get out my notes and I like write down sermon notes. And I'm like sitting there, I find myself just listening, and Amber looks at me and goes, she just kind of giggles because I have no notes and we're like halfway through the sermon, but I'm like intently listening. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to take notes. And I'm just like, but I'm like listening. Anyways, there was a lot of history in this one.
Yes, there was.
Yeah, but there were a few things that stood out to me. One of them being aware.
Yes.
Yes. Disappointment or tears of joy. We're not sure. It's both joy and sorrow.
Wait a minute. See, how did you say it? Aware.
So it's aware.
Aware.
It's spelled like aware, but it's the Japanese concept of aware is how you say it. And Jody White can correct me if I'm saying this incorrectly, but yeah, it's aware. So it's a concept of it's a combination of both joy and sorrow, which I didn't realize how often I kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
Like filling up my gas tank. I'm so full of joy that I'm finally filling up my gas tank, but I'm like so sad how much it's costing.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
And that really spoke to me, the joy and sorrow kind of experience, because I tend to think that way about like lots of different aspects of my life. And I think the two things that come to mind immediately are when I'm doing something for enjoyment, like say I'm playing a video game, like I was mentioning earlier. I feel joy that I'm able to do that. But then there's some kind of sorrow associated with like, okay, well, I only have this period of time to play the game before I have to do something else. So it almost kind of reminds me of like the God's holy darkness. It's like you can only have the light with the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then with work, like I'm thinking, oh, I feel really good about my work, but then I feel sorrow thinking that like I
You have to leave
to take
work.
yeah,
Yes.
yes, that's what I was going to say. Indeed.
I have the opposite feeling, Tim. I'm so excited the day's over.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, I feel pretty strongly like, oh, it's so great that the day is over.
Oh, that reminds me, you guys, another thing my dad said when we were on Zoom a week or two ago. I can't remember when. Time is meaningless.
Yes.
He mentioned that he didn't realize until like a couple podcasts ago that you, Jessica, and you, Tim, don't work for the church. He just assumed all of us worked for the church, and we never really explained what our jobs are. Well, I do explain mine. I work in the children's ministry at the church.
Yep. And Tim handles all
The finances.
all the finances, and I handle all of the
jokes.
all of the outdoor trimmings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could just imagine a poster with the three of us. I have some sort of checkbook thing in my hand, and then Jessica has these like amazing like tools to do the trimmings.
And then axe, Jessica.
And then,
I have a chainsaw.
Yeah. Okay. I like the chainsaw.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you what Tim and Jessica really do, though. You have to just piece that together from what they've already told you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like a mystery novel, you know, discovering
kind of a boring one. Like, the mystery of what Tim and Jessica do for a living.
Oh, when you put it like that.
Kill Tim and Jessica, that one's more interesting. It wasn't the children's ministry director.
Unless you find us on LinkedIn, then it's a clear giveaway with what our jobs are.
I don't have a LinkedIn. I don't think.
Oh.
I'm not LinkedIn.
Oh.
Get linked in, Beth.
You mean like, you know, like sausage links or
yep.
Wait, do you know what LinkedIn is?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I do have one of those, but it's outdated.
We'll have to connect.
Okay, cool.
Does it say you're still in high school or something? Or like how outdated are we talking?
It's many years behind. Okay. So I'm going to add to the mystery. If someone goes in with the LinkedIn idea, I'm going to know everything. They'll be disappointed.
Oh, this is great.
So I wanted to mention that I thought it was so nice that Pastor Jim went into the history of like it was really tragic, like sorrowful, like was my impression about the Lahaina fire and the Lahaina Methodist Church going down with the fire. But it was just a really uplifting story, ultimately. Bittersweet, yes, but it was really nice to just know all of that, and that their community is still strong, and that they are going to another local church and they're able to have their service. That's really nice. And then the last point that Pastor Jim mentioned was that reminder about how they have their community within that church, like they have the peace of what was, and then now they have something new. And I thought that was really wonderful that he brought that up, and it was touching. I'm glad so like that was huge. And so I'm glad he shared that with us.
And
it was very moving.
They're starting to feel hope because
yeah, absolutely.
I've had very long conversations with Owen. I don't have very long conversations with Jonah. It's more like, what's for dinner? I don't know. the conversation.
Bok choy. Anyways.
Baby bok choy. But I have had some pretty in-depth conversations with Owen when he's complained to me about certain things, about how, some of his friends aren't being accepted in the ways that they want to be accepted. And even when it's their own parents not accepting them. And he gets frustrated with me because I don't feel the rage like he does. Like, he wants me to get down on his level and feel the rage and be like, that's so messed up.
Oh.
And I think I used to be that person, but now I feel like I'm replacing the anger with hope, because I need to hope that these people do better, by their children or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's because, like Tim said, the positive thinking, I can't allow myself, and I do feel angry. I get angry about things, but it's not productive to feel angry. I feel like more productive to feel hopeful that people can change.
Yeah. And I think it's also another thing, like, you can get upset as much as you want, but what do you really have control over in that situation?
Right.
And will you be able to change somebody? It's not really
exactly.
It has to come from them organically and wanting, first recognizing that they're wrong, but then also, we're recognizing an alternative perspective, I think, is the first step. And then the next step is kind of implementing any form of a change that's respectful and full of empathy in some capacity. Mm-hmm. So
I've found that challenge in my life because I think I used to be like feeling the emotions of everyone that was telling me they're anything. And it was really hitting me emotionally, like regarding my stability and so forth. And so now, kind of like what both of you were mentioning, I sort of have that perspective where not what I had just mentioned, but the perspective where I recognize and as much as I can empathize with someone else, but like ultimately try to bring forth an upliftedness and a hopefulness to maybe inspire like another person to like feel better about their circumstances. And like the main thing is doing it in like an encouraging, understanding way. Mm-hmm. But kind of like leading them in that direction. And I think it's a difficult thing, but it kind of reminds me of how that situation happened in Lahaina. It's like they could just be totally devastated by the fact that their land, their home, basically, that for that community was burned down, or they could have a hopeful, uplifted sort of perspective, like recognizing the sorrow, but then having joy, basically.
Yeah. And the key thing from the sermon of his love endures forever, and he makes all things new. And I think, I don't think about it often, but just in the aspect of like how often he can metaphorically, but just, realistically make all things new, like making new things for us, whether that's new perspectives, new buildings, new, paths for our lives, new spiritual discoveries. There's always these like new things that we should always try to remember that God is doing in our lives. And
Yes.
I think it's encouraging. And I think, Tim, in terms of the positivity, there's always new ways to look at a situation that could be positive in not just from your perspective, but how can it also be positive for somebody else?
Yes. Absolutely.
And so I think always taking yourself out of the equation at some point and looking at it from that angle is a good way to kind of assess your day to day. Like if you can't think of something positive at all, well, how did maybe something you did create a positive step in somebody else's life?
Or how you just make somebody's day worse because you want.
Or are you the one that left the shopping cart behind somebody's vehicle?
Jessica.
It may have been positive for you to not walk so far, not for somebody else.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Jessica, because there are those times where I'm like, well, I could just leave the shopping lot.
Wow, Tim. Okay. New beginning.
leave the shopping cart where I'm at, like where my car is or something. Or I could just go overspend like maybe 1 minute, 1.5 minutes or something and put the shopping cart back. And I actually feel like I helped someone every time I put the shopping cart back in the store area where you have the carts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one way that we can like help the community, help our neighbor, and kind of what you were saying, Jessica, basically like how can we provide a positive influence for someone else? And that kind of like falls into what I was mentioning earlier about love. It's like, how can we like practice love for our neighbor? And how can we like live a life where we're exercising love in accordance with like loving God? I think that can provide like a sense of positivity that can really make a huge difference.
Yeah, I had a minor thought about the shopping carts. I was thinking of sometimes there's a shopping cart that ends up on a sidewalk where Beth finds it and then ends up taking the shopping cart back to church.
Yep.
I'm so glad you mentioned
If anybody remembers that story.
I definitely do. I'll say it again. A person got a shopping cart in their trunk of their car.
Yep.
Not lifting.
So I think altogether, I think we all kind of gained something from the fourth session of New Beginnings.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention it. It was the fourth one. It was in focus of Ezra. I think Ezra was in chapter 3, I believe. And I'm excited for next week. Beth probably already knows, but I'm excited for next week.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
There's just so many different like angles that we're looking at New Beginnings now.
I know.
Just imagine like this is maybe potentially horrible for me to say this, but just imagine if you're in geometry class and you have one of those shape moving things. And I
like a rhombus with your trapezoid and
No, I actually remember what it's called, a protractor. You got like a protractor. And you can
So are you referencing that Jesus is the protractor in our lives who's providing us with multiple angles to look at?
Yes.
I love that. Yes.
Nice. Maybe we should just start referencing like I'm feeling like more of like a 45-degree angle today, guys. I'm a little 90 degrees, feeling a little cornered here.
Little cornered. Oh.
I might be 87.3 degrees today.
I see. Well, Beth is 98 degrees and rising. So,
Yep.
anybody remembers? Does anybody know that reference?
I don't.
I might be the invisible man.
What?
98 degrees I am. Never mind.
There's a boy band, 98. There's a record 98 degrees and rising. Guys, oh my gosh.
Well, you probably have the song The Invisible Man on there.
Yeah.
Baby, you, all I am is the invisible man.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was great.
I just never had any of their albums.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not 98 degrees, Justin Timberlake is going to go on a world tour. And by world, I think Canada is the only thing outside of America. What I saw.
Okay. Sign me up.
Yeah. I'm curious. I haven't listened to his new song, Selfish, but
have
you heard it?
No. Now I want to listen to it because you mentioned it.
Yeah, we'll have to.
I'm not going to listen to it.
You're not?
In solidarity with Britney Spears. I'm just.
She just gave a shout out to.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and anyways. Well, we digress. So for
it was totally like appropriate digression. Oh, sorry. Not sure what happened there. Maybe that was part of the digression.
It was totally part of it.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we can pray for you about, Beth? I'll start with you.
Yes. So Owen has this friend that he's been friends with since second grade. He is the sweetest kid ever, but man, did life deal him a terrible hand. He was raised for some of the years in his life by his great-grandmother, not his grandmother, his great-grandmother.
Wow.
And then his mom got custody back of him. I think she had some addiction issues. And so she got custody of him back. They moved to Colorado and then to Las Vegas or somewhere in Nevada. And then in Nevada, this was a couple years ago, I can't remember. He and his mom were involved in a car accident.
Oh no!
They were both ejected out of the vehicle.
Oh
his
wow!
Mom died, and he's now. I think this was like 4 years ago. Maybe this happened, and so he moved back to the Antelope Valley, and he lives with his grandma. And I don't know any of the details about what's happening, but Owen told me that his friend told him that CPS is perhaps going to get involved and he might have to go live in a boys' home or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And he's just the sweetest kid in the whole world. And he's been dealt, like I said, a terrible hand. And stuff keeps getting thrown at him. And I really just want the best for this kid.
Yeah. Oh, man. And that makes you wonder what will this kid's new beginning be? Like, what will God provide in a new beginning?
Yeah, for sure.
I know. And I think about him all the time. And I just want good things for this kid. And he also is on the spectrum. And so he has his own challenges because of that. And just prayers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure, Beth.
I think one of the hardest things about, and this is an assumption, as we all know, I don't have human children. I only have like fur children. But the one thing I can only imagine is difficult is to trust, to have your own faith journey. But then when your children are, still young and maybe they're still exploring their faith journey and they see people around them very close to them experiencing these things, challenging their faith journey on how can you trust, and how can I trust a God who, is doing this to my friend? I can't even imagine, for you, Beth, just in terms of holding down the fort per se, like really advocating to trust God in this situation. It's so much easier said than done.
Yeah.
So I think in addition to praying for this kid, I think also praying for you that you can maybe find the right words, when they're needed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Tim, what about you?
I feel like I'm like a broken record or something like that with my prayer requests. So I'll go with a little bit of a different angle. So I, after the young adult life group, I talked to Pastor John a little bit longer than everybody else because we were kind of walking the same direction. And we started talking about like ADHD and stuff like that. And it was a really inspiring conversation. So I started looking up ADHD because I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was a kid, but I haven't got diagnosed as an adult. Maybe that's in my future. What?
Do you need to get re-diagnosed though?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah? No.
Maybe the what is it? The jury is out on that one, as you could say. But I started doing some research, and research being, I just went on Wikipedia and looked up ADHD.
That is a very respectable and definitely peer-reviewed for sure.
Well, I take it with a grain of salt when I go on Wikipedia.
Tim, you take it with a tablespoon of olive oil for sure.
Oh, yes, indeed. That's actually what I meant to say.
Not into his mouth, into his skin.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Oh, I already explained the olive oil story. That's good. So everybody knows about that. I'm happy. So with the spoon of olive oil, I went in with Wikipedia on ADHD. And one sentence in particular stood out to me. It said that the core problem with having ADHD is executive function and emotional dysregulation. Yep. I guess you could say executive dysfunction. And so I'm like, okay, so if I really know what executive function means, and I know what emotional dysfunction or if I can speak, emotional dysregulation means, then like really to the point that I understand them and can explain them simply to another person, then maybe I can apply in my life the changes that I need to like live a more productive and happier life. And so maybe I can report back next week about how that journey is going. Yesterday, I was doing some errands, and after I discovered this, it actually made me feel a lot more productive, and I think my behavior reflected that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing next week. But yeah, prayers for me on wherever that journey takes me.
Yeah, keep exploring.
Yeah,
I think that's always good. Always learning.
Once you crack the code, let me know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Living my best life right now. I have a terrible life.
No
way, Beth. You're the children's ministry director. It's a lot better than having some boring checkbook or having something else,
Or having some cutting shears over here.
Yep.
What about you, Jessica? Do you have?
What about you, Jessica?
Oh my gosh, you guys! Thank you so much for asking. I think I have a really silly story, and the obvious prayer request is that everything can continue to work out smoothly in terms of us trying to start a family. But I wanted to share this last week, and that's why I was a little bit sad that I wasn't able to mention it. So I'm going to mention it now, and this is part of my prayer request. I had a package that was supposed to be delivered to me on a specific day, and I looked at the notification. It said it was delivered, and it was not at our front door. It was at a very nice looking front door. And I was like, oh, okay, this is not my home. Whoa. And so I posted it on our community page on Facebook, because that's how our community talks together. And I got a message that said, hey, I think that's so-and-so's address. And no, that is not their name. This is to help them to remain anonymous. But I will mention their first name as I go through the story. Not their last name. But so I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And it ended up at a couple houses up from us. And so I was like, this is one of those joy and sorrow moments, right? I was so full of sorrow that like, oh my gosh, it was more of like frustration. My package is at the wrong address. I was really looking forward to what the items were inside, because one of them included an auger bit that could attach to my drill. And so, yeah, exactly. Everyone, see, this is what I do for the church. So, so I went to the house. There was a gentleman outside, and I was like, hi, sorry. I think my package was delivered here. And he goes, oh, he said, yeah, I called them and they told me to, just keep them.
Oh, no.
And I was like, he said, but now that you're here, come on in. Let me show you where they're at. He's like, one of them was already broken. He said it was it was some tool that I had purchased. And he brought me over to his, big garage space, and we go in there, and we as an Ambronite have both admired his yard, because he has a miniature vineyard in his yard.
Oh,
and so he brings me into his like garage space, and he's like, hey, do you like to, do you like cars? Like, do you like to redo cars and restore them? And I was like, no, but I love them, but I don't know how to do it. I wish I did. And he had all these really cool cars in there, and we got to talking, and 15 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, and he kind of opened up a little bit, and, I talked about, my life a little bit, and he's in his 80s, and he's been married. Now he's in his second marriage. His wife had passed away a few years back from breast cancer. And he just mentioned, he's like, yeah, life is short though. He's like, I had a heart attack, and he just mentioned like, yeah, but I just was really peaceful. I would have been fine with it if that were my time. And I was like, oh, are you a man of faith? And he said, I don't think so. He said, but I'm not atheist, and he shared a story, and he said he used to go to church and all these things. And I was like, oh, where did you go? And long story short, he used to go to Palmdale United Methodist Church.
What?
Wow.
And Pastor Jim 1.0 was the pastor that married he and his second wife.
Oh.
And anyways, there's a little more to it, but I'll keep it private. But my prayer is that we can see him, and I would love to see him in church. How that all kind of came together was crazy. And I just was like, and his name is Bob. And I think that's the coolest thing. So we're bringing in Bob to the conversation.
Wow.
And so I got my auger that attaches to my drill, and also walked away with 2 bottles of wine that he made. So it was definitely one of those aware moments where it was sorrowful at first, but then I was full of joy when I left because I had met this amazing gentleman, and I've been thinking of him and praying for him and wherever his spiritual journey is, and would really love to have him try to come back to PUMC at some point. That would be wonderful. So that is my prayer request. I'm so glad you shared that, Jessica. That is such a nice story, and maybe he'll come to PUMC. We'll pray for that to be the case. That would be incredible. But it's just so interesting and so nice that he was like part of PUMC, and he actually had a marriage there. That's incredible. Yeah. See, it's one of those things where sometimes it's okay if your package is delivered at the wrong address. Maybe God has a conversation waiting for you. Yeah. All of a sudden you'll find out somebody, they either used to go to PUMC or they tune in remotely to PUMC. Yeah. You never know.
You should have told him about the podcast.
Yeah, maybe so. But anyways, well, I've thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with you guys this time around because I've missed you as well, and appreciate the time that we get to spend together to reconnect. And yeah, it's so much fun hanging out with the two of you on this podcast. It's so nice.
Yes.
It's a blast. It's a blast. It's a blessing. And thank you, audience. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And, oh my gosh, it's a standing ovation. Wait, that has nothing to do with applause. Everyone's clapping in the audience, Tim. No, I'm saying the theme song that I was putting in there, like that. Oh, man. Thanks everyone for sticking around. We look forward to chatting with you next week. Goodbye. We're all from different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the max.